And there we go. So, what was interesting is self-defense. And mostly I'm going to talk about this without having anybody to freaking go over it. I think I need to start doing that. Go over it without talking. But then there's a level of I need to talk about first so that everybody gets on the same page. I need everyone to look at YouTube fights and see, just notice a whole bunch of things. How many of those fights end up on the ground? How many fights are with the person who's on the ground winning? How many fights is it where it's ending with a knockout? How many fights is it where people just walk away? And I'm telling you, once you find out, you'll be surprised. Because in self-defense, a lot of people say a lot of BS. And some of the times when we think of fights isn't going to last too long, because it's usually when you run into that one crazy person that pulls out the knife. Everybody knows you ain't supposed to stab anybody. Somebody with common sense, I said the wrong word, common sense. People don't have common sense. That's an illusion. You only have a common census if you have common law. We don't have common law. We have laws and regulations. So, since we don't have a common law, then nobody has common sense. Because we have to agree on the laws. And the laws are made for us by other people. So nobody really agreed on any of the laws that you have to be standardized to. But so since nobody really has common sense, a common census, and there's no common law, then people pretty much will do whatever they think is correct. We all know you can conceal and carry in some cases, but some people do conceal and carry. A lot of businesses don't allow you to carry guns in them, but sometimes people do. And those are those people that are overly scared of any situation. But usually they're, rude, crude people. I'm going to say more brutish type people. Because they want the ability to do whatever they want. And just try and get away with it. But if you're carrying a gun and you're that type of brutish person where you don't care, and if you get into a fight or not, it's like, okay, man, you're going to either get shot or end up shooting somebody. So, you're asking for it by carrying a gun. You're asking for it by not changing the way you handle situations. So not getting in fights a lot of times is just change the way you look at life. And a lot of people don't understand that on the first off. Other parts of it is when you, who are a nice person, not brutish. You're not that type of person that will bump into somebody and say F you. Not that type of person that's going to accidentally spill a drink on somebody and be like, hey man, you need to buy me another drink. That type of stuff, which you all know is kind of boneheaded and just rude and brutish. A lot of times it just escalates into that. You bump into somebody once, then he gets bumped in again by somebody else, and then just so happens he's like right in the way. And a lot of that deals with psychology. But he's standing right in the way, and you're like, dang it, man, I'm going to bump into him. Like, please excuse me. And you probably put your hand on his shoulder, and you're touching him, and he doesn't like being touched. So then you have a problem right there, But you notice he's in the way, and I'm going to end up bumping into him anyway. So I'm going to try and say, "Excuse me," and gently push him so that I can get by, But that being on the psychology, he got bumped once, he got bumped twice, and now you're asking to get by, When somebody subconsciously, when somebody wants a conflict, they will do whatever it takes to get into a conflict. Those type of people are easy to spot. Their faces are just scrunched up and they're like, in the way most of the times. They're just positioned where they need to be to get in the most conflict. And that's subconsciously. They don't think they're doing anything wrong. Yes, and sometimes they're actively trying to, but that's the whole thing. You're trying to be nice to these people that think that they're not doing anything wrong, and they only find problems with whatever you say. They're trying to get into a fight, and at that point during the conversation, it's just like, okay, you're trying to get into a fight. Sorry, man, I'm gonna go my way, you win this little argument. And that's usually all they want, the other person to back down, because people are kind of like animals in that sense. When you have somebody being over aggressive, they want to prop their chest and have the other person become submissive. That's literally it. You get into those situations, boom, it's going to be done. All you got to do is just submit and walk away. If you don't want to submit, then you're getting into a confrontation. Most likely going to end up into a fight. And then there's a lot of legal repercussions from that. So usually it's just use your head, because it's only going to be a freaking 5 minutes. 5 little minutes of a conflict can end by somebody just walking away. On other issues, when you have some psychotic people, you usually can tell when they're psychotic, because they're going to make certain movements, certain gestures, and the way they're going to talk is just going to, bing, this dude wants to kill somebody. Okay. Yeah, a lot of hand movements. He's moving around kind of sporadically. He's getting real close. I'm going to take another step back. If he keeps moving forward, okay, he wants a conflict. So I'm going to put something in between me and him. If he comes around, he's trying to fight me. The situation, he's trying to make the situation. If you put something in front of you and him, and he doesn't pass that line, once that line is, you're just, and it's like a mental thing, It's like, if you're not trying to get into a conflict and somebody draws a line, like, okay, don't cross it. Even if the other person is being aggressive, it's like, okay, this is my side, this is your side. Like, alright, usually person isn't going to cross it. But if they're trying to do something, meaning most likely use a weapon or get into a fight, a physical fight, because most fights start verbally, and most fights start standing up. They're trying to try to get a sucker punch, try to pull out a knife and scare you. Usually it's trying to scare you, and they wave it around and try to get you to run. Or cut you once. A lot of times the person pulling out the knife, yeah, they're psychotic. They'll stab you. They don't care. One stab and they'll feel better. But you don't want to get stabbed. You don't want to get cut. You don't want to enter that situation in the beginning already. So once you put something in front of them, a chair, get the bar back up enough to where there's a clear and present line on the ground. Notice that too. There are lines, separations on the ground. Get to that point where you're like 2 feet away from the line, and they're either on the line, because they'll notice they'll stop somewhere around that line. On the line, a feet behind the line, 2 feet behind the line. That's your gauge for aggression right there. You cross that line, they're 2 feet back. Guess what? You have your arm to judge. You got your hands up and you're like, hey man, I'm sorry, whatever. So you got that 2 feet in front of you. They cross that line. You're in a fight. It doesn't have to be verbal. At that point, you have to say whatever you need to say to get out of it. A lot of common things to if you're not against acting submissive just to get out of a situation, which I don't care. I don't have no big ego where I have to show off to a whole bunch of people, but if I get into a situation I don't feel like backing down, like dude says something to make me angry, and I'm like, okay, let's go. You can go. At that point, I'm like 100%. Yeah, I need you to be the aggressor, so I'm gonna say whatever I need to say to get you to take a swing. But I'm not like that. I won't do that. I'm cool with acting submissive because I don't like getting into a lot of fighting situations, because you never know what's going to happen. This dude pulls out a gun and ended up taking the gun goes off and shoots somebody. That's too high of a risk for me to be playing around with other people's lives, especially if we're in a crowded area. Pulls out a knife. It doesn't really matter, because if I get the knife away and I drop it on the ground and his friend picks it up and then ends up stabbing me, it's all those type of situations. So, or his other friend pulls out a knife with he's pulled out a knife, usually crazy people run in packs. So all those type of situations are kind of crazy. Those are like the 5% chance of running into these type of people, so you got 95% chance of not running into these type of people. So you really don't have to worry about it. Keep it in your head that these people exist. Understand that those type of situations does happen, but there is a way to avoid it. So, and in any type of self-defense is self-control. So the more you control yourself, the more you control the situation to go the way, and whatever way you want it to go. So think of it that way. How I act will dictate the rest of this. You can avoid the situation completely by noticing that this dude is in the way. He's a little grumpy. I need to go around. Totally, because he's looking to start a fight. I noticed that a lot of times, which is why I stopped going out, because you got those people that just want to get in a fight to show off in front of a girl or something like that. And usually they do that and then go home and the girl has sex with him because, he's protected the territory and all that kind of stuff. And that's all psychological bull. What I want for humanity is to actually evolve. We keep talking like and acting like that we've evolved, but we're still animals with this ability to communicate with great communication skills. Let's put it that way. That's about it. So if we stop acting like animals and stop giving in to those type of impulses and realize that we do have this part of us, this animalistic, and that it'll kick in every now and again, and just not cater to it. Don't cater to that animal side, the emotional side. I feel like this person has infringed on my rights, and I am now fighting for my rights. Well, that's a lot of bull, man. You were standing in the way. Your feet, you had a wide stance, in this small little area. So, and you were asking for conflict. You can't be in a small area talking to your friends close to the bar, not sitting at the bar. There's a beam right here. Your back's to it. I mean, you're perfectly positioned to be in the way. Your friends are trying to move you towards the table, and you, for some reason, don't want to move and keep engaging your friends. Meaning that psychology on that, you're trying to do this subconsciously. You don't want to move. You thought about fighting somebody, and you put yourself in the proper position needed to get into fight with somebody. So, at that point, you got to think, who are you going to believe what you are doing or what you're saying? Because you fooled yourself at that point. And a lot of times we always do fool ourselves. So, if we want to be honest about who we are and what we do, we have to look at where we are standing. Since the whole point and all that kind of stuff, yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you standing? Type deal. So once you look at all that kind of stuff, hit me up, get back to me. Let's see some comments. Most likely a lot of people ain't gonna even look at this. Whatever. If you avoid knowledge, the things that knowledge can do for you, you won't be able to do. You will be a monkey throwing a rock into a glass house. Everybody else is like, that's going to do a lot of damage, while the monkey's like, wow, that seems fun. It makes a lot of noise. No good can come of ignorance, so why be ignorant? Things should not be that way. Yeah, it's early in the morning. I'm usually not enthusiastic on this kind of stuff, but since people in the audience are sitting so still and quiet, and yeah, that's all I got. So, peace. Hopefully you get some type of stuff. And I came up with this because the night before I went to a jiu-jitsu seminar, and they said 90% of fights end on the ground. That's already been debunked because people are like, some people in jiu-jitsu wised up and was like, I've seen a lot of fights on YouTube, the real fights, and then also in the other situations, nah. So they found out that that's more of a marketing tool to get people to join so they can make money. I don't want to lie to anybody. That's not my thing. But in reality, they're not. They're talking specifically about MMA fights, not real self-defense fights, even though they alluded to self-defense. So, blah, blah, blah. I do believe, whatever.